All right, then, let's go to our next story. And this has to do with the Kaduna State hemsman who came calling on his Lagos State counterpart, Governor Sanwo-Olu. Governor El-Rufai came calling, as I just said, especially in the aftermath of the senseless damage to public and personal assets during the last End SARS protest. The visitor roundly condemned the willful damage, noting it was self-inflicted. It was a self-inflicted one. In the same vein, Governor El-Rufai raised the alarm that our country had almost reached its maximum capacity to borrow. With crude oil prices collapsing, we must be more proactive to avoid external shocks. Nelson Mandela said, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his own language, that goes to his heart, Jide.
Yes, and Governor El-Rufai, no matter what you say about him, is somebody who has never, for once, lost his capacity to intervene in national issues. He has never lost his public consciousness. He's someone who, given his background as the DG of BPE, Bureau of Public Enterprises, still shows some interest in economic matters. He still shows interest. He's still a man with an eye for figures. Now, we've talked about the fact that we are just borrowing all over the place. About 3 years ago, some people saw this coming and they complained. But they were shut up by the argument that our debt to GDP ratio was good enough.
Manageable.
But at that point, we were comparing ourselves to nations that have far bigger capacity for revenue generation than us. I mean, it's foolhardy to compare yourself with such countries. We have what looks like a good debt to GDP ratio. But do we have the capacity to generate revenue to even pay back these loans? As we are seeing now, it is extremely difficult for us to even generate revenue. We are spending far more than we are generating. And that's why we think that the best thing to do is to simply go and borrow. I also think that in our country, we have to do something about the cost of even infrastructure projects. It's extremely expensive to build structures in our country, to execute contracts in our country. And if we do not do something about the cost of projects, cost of executing projects, we are not going to find enough money to run the country. It's becoming so embarrassing now, the rate we are going. We can't just be borrowing money all over the place, like somebody who does not know what he's doing. Some of the projects for which we have even borrowed money, we can see clearly that we can't, those projects are not even profitable on the long run.
That's in your judgment?
Yes, in my judgment, because I have also done some investigation. I'm a fact-based journalist. And I can ask you whether we've made any profit on the Kaduna-Abuja rail project. I can ask you whether we've even broken even. And people who are watching me, the people who are knowledgeable, they know that as we speak, we have run that project for more than 5 years because we inherited it from the Goodluck Jonathan administration. Till today, it is not profitable. Let the minister tell us that it's profitable.
In the sense of?
We are not making money from it. It's simple English.
Okay.
It's not, it's basic economics. That's why I'm saying that even the projects for which we are going about asking for this loan, asking for that loan, we have to be strategic. It's not because at the end of the day, you should be able to pay back. It will get to a point, the point that El-Rufai is making is that it will get to a point that nobody will want to even give you loans anymore because they will, in the bond market, you will not be able to play your part in the bond market again because they know that the revenue, you don't have the capacity to source the revenue that will ensure that you're able to pay back.
Martins, but you know, the major problem over time had been you borrowing money to, for instance, sink a borehole in your village. But the money comes, you do something else. Yeah. That's the major problem over time.
Definitely, you know, we at The Guardian have written so many editorials on this issue. The issue that El-Rufai, Governor El-Rufai has raised. You know, the unfortunate thing about it is that most of these things, we don't even get the details, but what we sense is that they are borrowing for budgeting, they are borrowing for consumption. There's nothing extraordinary about borrowing. It's good. Businessmen borrow money, countries borrow money to finance critical infrastructure. But management of priorities, as Jide has just said, has become a problem. Some of those projects that they are just mentioning, some ministers will cite projects in one head of state's village. Some ministers will just be, without talking about priorities. You take, for instance, if they are borrowing, for instance, to build infrastructure in the tertiary institutions, they can now explain to the people that, look, let's borrow money to equip our universities, teaching hospitals, and all those things like that, because you can see the nexus between quality in education and development. And we can say that, but look at what people were saying, even NSAS campaigners. They were mentioning the remuneration package for our legislators. They keep talking about it. If you borrow to go and finance that, that's not good for a country, as he said. It's very bad. Management of priorities. We can't continue to borrow. While I was in primary school, I have been hearing about he who goes a borrowing, goes a sorrowing. It may not be applicable within the context of what we have said now, but our people do not know how to want to borrow to establish national carrier, an airline that we cannot manage well. We killed the first one. We have not shown capacity to manage that kind of thing. So I think that the warning that Governor El-Rufai has raised here is something that his own party people
should take a second look at it.
Take a second look at it, and you should not dismiss it, because we dismiss a lot of things. I remember he was talking about restructuring in the Kaduna recent talk with Governor Fayemi. But he himself headed a committee that submitted a report to the party and the president more than 2 years ago. And they are sitting on it. So he himself has a responsibility. He's a resourceful person, educated, and he has the capacity to do something, but he should tell his own party men and the leaders of this country.
That's what he's doing. By speaking in the open, he's indirectly sending a message to them. So they need to do
very good. It's a good message at this time.
In this case, the borrower can defend it. Right? Wrong?
Right, to some extent. I've listened to the government say, at every given opportunity, that the money borrowed is tied to projects. They've said that repeatedly, and you want to give them benefit of doubt. But even at that, we all know that our government has always had transparency issues. The issue of accountability and all that still remains, a very big problem, to contend with most of our. And it's not just about this administration, even with past administrations. Now, like he said, if you borrow for consumption, then you are making a mess of the entire thing. But if what you're borrowing is tied to projects, then that makes a lot of sense. It means you're going to be a lot more productive, and then you make an income. But just like you said too, oftentimes we play politics with these things. We get very emotional, rather than allow these projects to reflect costs. We just get emotional and say, okay, fine, we want our people to enjoy the benefit of, they call it dividends of democracy. Not minding that for every business venture, you have a plan. There must be return on investment. I mean, if you borrow money, it's not a jamboree. It's not a jamboree. And that's what is playing out in the power sector, where the stakeholders are saying, look, if you want us to make, gains, then the cost must be reflective of what the market is saying. So that is an issue, And sometimes, again, speaking to the issue of transparency and corruption within the system. Recently, we had one of the ministers, or at the National Assembly, being asked why he's allocated 20 projects to his local government area. And you wonder, this money is going to come from somewhere. Most of these projects are going to be funded by borrowed money. And now somebody wakes up and says, 20 of these should go to my community. So it raises a lot of issues. Nothing wrong with borrowing. It's basic economics, okay? But what you do with what you have borrowed is what really matters in this case.
It's very key, yeah. Judy, as you said, I was following it. IGR generating money internally. I think we can go there, gentlemen. Outside of Venezuela, the second largest bitumen deposits on this planet is in Oyo State. Ondo State. So what can be wrong with looking inside?
We are just not doing enough. We are not doing enough. We are not generating enough revenue. And even what is being generated, the avenues through which they are leaking into people's pockets are huge. We were discussing about TSA the other day, and someone was talking about the TSA as if it's the silver bullet that will end corruption in our country. That's rubbish. People are bypassing the TSA and stealing money. The ICPC came up with a report indicating that there is a trend now whereby government officials completely bypass the TSA and open accounts, illegal accounts all over the place. So what are we talking about?
And we know this.
What are we talking?
We know this.
They came out with evidence.
Yes.
They came out with evidence. Anybody who is current will have read when the ICPC complained.
Yes.
And it's happening. My point is, look, it will get to a point when you will not even be able to find money to pay the principal, to pay the interest. We are moving inexorably in that direction now. And it is not too late for us to do what is right. We should focus on production. The production base of the economy has to be strong. If you are unable to do that and you think that, you must adopt the easy way out, which is simply to go and borrow money to build projects, and a lot of those projects, they cannot even repay the loans. I've given an example, and I stand to be challenged. Okay. I don't come on here to make wild allegations. We are unable, the Kaduna-Abuja rail project is more than 5 years old now, and I'm saying again that it has not been able, it is not profitable.
You won't factor in
it's not
the
profitable
security challenges on that route?
No, security problem is not the issue.
No, you don't want to factor that in?
No, it's not the issue.
Okay.
People, it is oversubscribed. Because people know that it's more dangerous to travel by road. Have you ever been to Kaduna? How many people want to travel by road? So they will rather, big people, a lot of these big people, generals, even generals, it is the plane, it is the train that they enter. So it's not really, it's not a security issue. So we are saying that.
We are not registering returns.
It is not enough. Profit. It is not enough to make it profitable. This is simple logic.
The National Assembly must help us here. At the Hangout, all we do is work with facts, help mold opinion. The National Assembly should go back to the drawing board, unbundle the central government, which has over 66 items on its menu, so that, because we can do it, generate a lot more money internally. I just talked about bitumen.
Yes.
Nigeria used to be #1 palm oil producer on the planet. Today we are importing palm oil.
We are not remitting even what is generated. We are not remitting what is generated. See, the House of Reps went to do their oversight functions. And they discovered that a lot of the government, the revenue generating agencies of government, refused to even remit. Even 10% is on cases of what they were expected to remit. And what did we hear? Then the minister then decided that, okay, we are going to send treasurers to go and work with this revenue generating agency. Oh, treasurers, are they not Nigerians? In due course, those treasurers that you are going to send from the ministry to go and work with them, they will be carried along in inverted commas. Once they are carried along, you will see that there is no progress made. This is the thing. Even the revenue generating agencies, whether they are it's customs that we are talking about, or FANO, or other, they are not remitting what they should remit. And we should be jailing people who are economic saboteurs. We are not doing that.
Martins, Sam, we don't punish bad behavior here.
Yeah, definitely.
It has become a way of life.
It has become a way of life. But let's specify something within the context of what is saying.
Yeah.
What is playing out is that the civil service at all levels has collapsed.
Did you say evil or civil?
Civil
Okay.
service.
Okay. I
Civil
forgot the
service
spelling.
has collapsed.
Okay.
Because this is what, from literature, you can review. This is what they use to fight corruption. But when you generate revenue, TSA is there. The financial instructions,
You are bypassing them.
You bypass them and nothing happens.
Oh boy.
I have repeated this saying from Shakespeare many times on this platform, that when this mercy forgives a murderer, any mercy that forgives a murderer encourages murder. So when you live in a culture of impunity like this, people just flout civil service rule, financial instruction, they are corrupt, nobody is punished, nobody is queried. Auditor General's report is not discussed, it's not debated, and audit queries
Or
are
he
not
does not even
followed up.
get involved. Was it not the duty of the Auditor General of the Federation to go and do that work at NDDC?
Yes.
That the same board is now auditing itself.
Gentlemen, we must
When
move
we had
ahead.
an Auditor General.
We must move ahead.
So it's collapsed.
We must move ahead.
And there must be revival.
Let me rub this in. In his book, 1984, George Orwell, he said, what will be your reaction? You are discussing with a madman. And all right, I hear we have an economist on the line. I think, Kayode, are you there? Good evening. Kayode, how do you do? Good evening. Delayed signal. Okay. George Orwell said, how would you react? You are talking to a madman. He accepts your argument, and he goes away, thanks you, and still goes away with his madness.
There is delay about that. It's not the fault of the caller. There's delay.
All right, I hear we can talk to Kayode. Kayode, good evening, welcome. Hello, Kayode. We know the signals are delayed here. Okay, then. But still ahead will be the ASU federal government palaver. It's a dogfight. We'll go there. But, gentlemen, I think ours is to provoke the debate and canvass opinion here. Okay. All right. Let's go to the third story. You know, the dogfight between the ASU and the federal government is far from over. The staff union of universities is utterly dismayed that government would bail out banks and the aviation sectors to the exclusion of an all-important education sector. Chairman Kano Zonal, Kano Zone of the ASU, Mahmoud Lawal, says it's very clear that the central government could not be bothered about what becomes of the enlightenment zone, that education sector. The position of ASU is persuasive. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
We have no, as I said yesterday on the program, government is a continuum. And when you take over from a government, when you supplant a government, the liabilities of that government, you take over. It's not simply the perks of office that you take over. You take over the liabilities. There was an agreement to provide the sum of 110 billion for the revitalization of universities. That agreement was reached in 2009. There is no reason in the world for us not to have released a substantial portion of that money
Agreed money.
Even if we are incapable of releasing everything or giving them everything. By now, if we were committed to, if we were serious about it, we will have released more than half of that money. 2090 date. But what do we hear? We hear tales that suggest an apparent lack of commitment from some of the people in government. Where you start hearing that, oh, even the Goodluck Jonathan administration that signed that deal had no plan to pay. How did you conclude that they had no plan to pay? You can't be telling people that. Once you go into agreement with people, you are obligated to honor your word. You are obligated to honor the agreement.
Let's quickly go there. The Jonathan, did it make to pay, however substantial it was, or little or big?
At that time, they had not paid. At that time, they had not paid. But when this government came in, they were obligated to honor the agreement, because it's not the issue is government is a continuum. When you take over, so you cannot say because that one didn't pay. If we use that logic,
what I'm suggesting. If Jonathan government started payment, however tiny, at least it will be there in the records that they started paying this. But it predates Jonathan. We can go back to Obasanjo days.
Yes. The truth is, if we have to start looking at what Jonathan didn't do or should have done.
And not talk say make you look there.
Interpretatively.
These are facts.
Whether it is a fact or not, we cannot continue to talk about something that happened a long time ago.
5 years ago.
More than 2009. And we are not making progress about it. The truth is, if you leave project because this person ought to have released money and finished the project, why are we doing the Lagos-Ibadan Express? Why didn't we say, oh, it was Jonathan that ought to have finished it? That is not the issue. And government got into agreement. Okay, you say you are going to pay end allowance, end academic allowance. They call it end academic allowance. You went ahead and then said, okay, we'll release 30 billion. But the 30 billion will be for all of the unions within the university community. Why is it called end academic allowance? Why must you make it available to everyone? It's like you're just creating more room for disagreement. Look, so if you can make that, the point that lecturer, that academic made is a valid one. We have released more than 100 billion to the power sector, to the players in the power sector. We've released more than 100 billion. Yet education, the knowledge industry, we take it so lightly. We think it is not important.
Sam, the issue here is not to win any logic or argument. It's to say them as it is, you know.
Yeah, because
government is a continuum. He has underlined that.
It is, and we are also speaking to facts. That is very important here. Did government enter into an understanding with the lecturers? Yes, they did. It's about integrity. And that is what is playing out, you know, at this point. There is so much distrust.
Guys, even, let me just, to even combust the early arguments totally, there was an MOA, Memorandum of Action. So we've left that of Jonathan issue behind. They agreed, based on an MOA, that this was what they were going to do. How much have they released based on that?
Yeah, and that's the point, basically, the issue of trust. So ASU is like, I mean, your body language tells everyone who is watching, who is listening, that you will not obey this in understanding that has been reached. And that is what is worrisome. That our children have been at home for over 7 months. And the two parties are like, nothing is wrong, you know, with that situation. It's really very disturbing. You know, when you spoke earlier, you said what ASU, you know, was talking about sounds persuasive. He does. He talked about the power sector, the amount of bailout that has been given to them.
Yes.
Aviation had the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Banks.
And the banks. And you ask yourself, what are the outcomes from these bailouts that have been extended to these industries? Absolute nothing. In fact, in the case of aviation, it's terrible because most of them took the money, put them into private pockets, and left this country.
I know
Do you understand?
I know one that took the intervention fund and went to set up a bank in Ghana.
Some went
That's how we waste money. We give money to people who do not. Probably the same person. That's how we give money. Probably that's how we give money to those who do not really need it. No, I'm not going to mention. I've mentioned his name before. But let us leave him alone. It's not his fault.
When you set fire to a snake, you go burn the whole house. Martin, you know, let me come from this angle. When a quarrel goes on for too long, both parties are wrong. You don't see anything wrong on the side of ASUU in all of this?
Well, I don't see anything wrong. We can blame them from now till the end of end of time. But you know, facts are facts, and facts in our own profession are sacred. The facts of the matter they have laid bare. Government is a continuum. But I mentioned something earlier: management of priorities.
Yeah.
These banks owned by private people. Aviation sector, powerful people.
Owned by private people.
owned by power, but you give them. Then education sector. Then you can be an orator. Let's be an oracle at a time. People keep talking when you listen to people. Education in the Scandinavian countries and all those things like that. They don't joke. They are prosperous because they don't joke with education.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is no nation. We've said this several times. Look. If you are talking of development, economic development in Africa, you look at the quality of tertiary education of the 10 top universities in Africa. You find most of the time 8 in South Africa. Look at their economy. They are the only African, they are centers of research. They are the only African country that is a member of G20.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are the only African country that is a part of BRICS. This emerging markets.
Along with
So,
Brazil,
with Brazil,
that we are going to borrow money from.
Because they prayed harder.
They prayed,
No.
They work harder. They work harder. So I think we should see the nexus, as I said earlier, between the quality in your education and development.
And funding is key.
Funding is key. You see, you are talking about South Korea, you see their Samsung, you see their products that we are scrambling to get.
And that's a country that does not pray too much.
No, it doesn't pray too much.
As you people
Live
just
prayer
say.
is
Let's
talk about our people.
Come on, what is the part of it?
Let's conclude it this way.
Say na prayer, say make them no pay.
That's South Korea.
Na prayer stop.
Prayer is the key. Go on.
South Korea,
Too much.
when we leave Scandinavian countries that places emphasis on quality of teaching. You can't have good products. You come to South Korea where they have Minister of Education and Minister of Knowledge Development in South Korea.
And
the whole world is moving towards service economy.
Yes.
Only good education can make that possible.
How do you
Hold on, gentlemen. Sam, and many
education
Nigerians don't feel ashamed sending their children to Ghana, to university.
Togo, yeah.
Togo, Benin, Ghana, Togo. You know what somebody said? He said at 50, a man deserves the face he has. As a country at 60, we deserve the country we have. Right?
I think it is very important.
What did the UNESCO
You
say?
should manage our priorities. Education should not be treated this way.
Gentlemen, what did UNESCO say about funding of education? Right from your budget.
Yeah, from your budget.
26%.
We have never met it.
Mate, are you doing 10%?
I'm not doing 10%.
Now? To even do 10% is a problem for
Management
you.
of
And we have countries like Senegal doing 26.
Yes.
We have countries like Ghana going as far as 20.
Yeah.
When we are ready to solve these
We'll
problems,
find the money.
When we are ready to solve
find
these
the money.
problems, we will solve those
Oh,
problems.
yeah.
For now, we are not ready.
We are not
We are
ready.
not ready.
Western region went beyond 60% before in this country. That's why it's a reference.
That's why it's possible.
Yes.
It's possible.
It's possible.
We
Otherwise,
just have
Martin,
to prioritize
gentlemen,
and
we
stop
must
all
go.
these leakages.
Martin, you are reminding me there was once a country
That was a country.
in this country.
Yeah, that was a country.
Yes, now. We are spending so
Jide,
much money.
you don't do.
No,
I say make I
now.
thank you. No. Producer say make we go. Jide,
Producer, I go query the producer.
no query am.
See,
Time is the master
you
here.
know
We
now,
must go.
you
we
and
must
I
go.
know
Yes.
that we are funding, we are wasting so much money on extortionate bureaucracy.
Yes.
And if we do something, reduce all of this waste here and there, we'll be able to find good money for other things.
But that is
All right,
including
gentlemen.
education.
Martins, I thank you very kindly. You know, you look very fine when you are pissed off. I like it. I like
I
it.
mean, when I'm pissed off, as I am now,
Yeah, you
I don't
look fine. You look-
You look beautiful. No handsome.
All right, so we must go. Thank you, Martins, for coming.
You're welcome.
Sam, many thanks to Jide.
pleasure.
Have a great weekend. Send the bill to them.
You can
Yeah.
start by leading
come
me
on.
to your usual
That
place.
joint.
Oh, yeah.
That's how the good weekend
That's
can
it. That's
begin.
it. Okay.
Not
So,
for you to just come and be saying it to impress the viewers.
okay, the viewer must understand at the hangout, we trade in facts and figures, help mold opinion, allow you to make up your mind. We are done for the week. Thank you very kindly. And on behalf of everybody here, including the backroom boys, we thank you for your time. Keep watching this show Monday through Friday. We can't serve you any other thing but facts, figures, and thank you. Bye-bye now.